Hey guys, today I'm doing a bonus video. We're taking a break a little bit from my Forgotten Rudiments series, which if you haven't checked out, you probably should, but if you're just not into it, I'll do this video for you guys instead. It's a sequel, I guess, to my last video. I'm talking about touring. Last time was more like the psychological, logistical aspects of it. Now I'm going to give you just a few tips that I found useful over my touring career. So the first tip I have is get some cases for your drums. So I've literally seen people tour by just like tossing their drums into their van, or maybe wrapping them in a towel. If your drums are expensive, which they probably are, or it's at least expensive to get more, even if you got cheap ones now, you want to protect them. So getting cases of some type is really like the greatest idea you can do for your instrument. I've never spent more than like 400 bucks on a set of shells, but still, I don't want to do that halfway through a tour again because all my stuff got damaged. That doesn't make any sense. And if you play more expensive stuff, you don't want that to get ruined. You're going to want cases. So what do I use? This is typically the type of case that I use. I've had this one for like 10 years. It's a little bit dinged up. I don't know if you can see that, but that's dings that are not on my drums that would have been if they wouldn't have been in cases. So I'm not a fan of gig bags. I also don't want to spend the money on like the full-on flight cases with wood and the metal corners and the carpet and everything. That's like the best you could get. Nothing is the worst you could get. This is a good middle ground. It's hard. Protects my drums pretty well. This has fallen off of an amplifier from like this high in the air to a concrete floor. Drum came out of it fine. So I think this is a pretty good option. This is a Stag case. I don't think they make them anymore, but you can get something like this. It's worth it because you're not ruining drums out on the road. Nothing's stabbing through your heads. You're not cracking and warping shells. You gotta get some cases. So once you got your drums and they're secured in their cases, sticks, okay? You gotta bring a stick bag on tour. You can't get away with just loose sticks, right? This is the stick bag that I brought on the last couple tours. It's custom made for me. You could buy ones kind of like this probably, but any good stick bag will do. Commercial ones are fine. This one kind of unrolls and of course it's full of sticks. These are just some random sticks I have in here because whatever, but like when I go on tour, I'll typically have every one of these slots filled with a pair of the same stick because I only use one type of striking implement in my set in a metal band, right? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pockets here that I will put pairs of sticks in, right? So that's 6 pairs or 12 sticks, and then I got this bigger pocket over here which I will typically have another couple pairs in. Or when one, if a stick sort of gets past its prime, but I could still use it as backup, I'll slide it into the big pocket at the end, right? And they're all the same stick because I drop sticks. It happens to everyone. I need sticks available, and of course, any good stick bag, and this one included, will hook onto your floor tom, or some of them go on your throne or wherever. You're going to need these sticks available to just grab on the fly while you're playing. So a good stick bag that you can pull the sticks out of mid-beat while you're playing, and that will hold, at least 4 to 8, let's say, pairs of sticks, is absolutely essential. I mean, I've gone through shows where I've dropped 2 sticks and broken a 3rd one, and so I was on my like 4th and 5th stick essentially when I was playing at the end of the set. If I didn't have a whole bag of sticks, I would have been basically up the creek. I've also had it where I didn't drop or break the stick, but I look at it halfway through the set and go, yeah, this one's done, and I got to get another one. So just a huge selection, or not selection, but a collection of similar sticks, or the same sticks that you can just grab mid-song is absolutely essential. Also in my stick bag, I typically keep all kinds of other garbage, like sweatbands are really good if you sweat a lot, which playing metal, I tend to sweat on stage, right? So these are also custom made, although you could just use regular athletic ones. I also like to keep tape in my stick bag because if I get a blister or something, it's not like I can just stop the set, right? I'll just throw a little bit of medical tape on it and keep going. I've gotten better about getting blisters as my technique has improved over the years, but every once in a while, if you're on the road for weeks, stuff happens. I also like to keep a marker in there for making set lists because you never know when you're going to lose every set list you brought on the tour and you're going to have to write one on a cocktail napkin. And I don't like playing without a set list. I like to just start songs confidently knowing what they're going to be ahead of time. So I always have a marker. I often have a pencil as well. And I even have, if I really dig down in here, backup earplug, right? I have had it where I lost my good earplugs mid-show. I think I probably have a pair in here, or you know, mid-tour, I mean, and then suddenly you're playing a show and one ear is deaf and the other one's fine, and you try to switch the earplug halfway through the set. That's the terrible thing. So spare earplugs in here, readily available. One could fall out of your ear onto the dark stage. You can't find it. Well, I'm not going to damage my hearing because of a stupid mistake, right? So that's the basics of my stick bag. Another thing to think about on tour, your keys. Seems like it wouldn't be that important since you're not home, but when you have like a van that you're touring in, you definitely need 2 keys to that van, and they need to be in separate people's pockets at all times. That's like a cardinal rule. The other thing you need on your keys is a drum key, right? You should always have a drum key on you because that should be obvious. But I like to keep them with my other keys. I typically either hook them to my belt with this like fob thing, or you know, put them in your pocket like a normal person. But a van key and a drum key. And since you're the drummer and you got the most gear, it makes sense for you to have one of the keys. Unless you're just the type of person who's definitely going to lose it and then maybe give it to the responsible member, but like, who's that going to be? A guitar player? Come on. Okay, so your drum key and a van key on your person at all times. So if you have cases for your drums, obviously you have a case for your cymbals. I've been taking this Sabian cymbal vault out on the road. I've done it with a soft cymbal bag, but you know, that's always a little dicey, so the hard one definitely keeps them protected. Although if you were to drop this, maybe you could get cracks in the hole because it does have a metal piece that runs up through. I'm not saying this is the perfect cymbal case. There are probably better ones, but this has worked for me. I think it's been pretty well established that I play Iron Cobras usually, and so they come in a case, but a pedal case is a good idea because pedals have a lot of complex moving parts. If you just throw them into your hardware bag or hardware case that I advocate that you get, they could get jostled around and messed up. So having a separate pedal case, if your pedal makes one, or you can even just co-opt one from another brand, that's a good idea too. Okay, so not necessarily in my stick bag, but on tour I always have a spare kit of just random parts that I take with me. Typically I'll put it inside one of my drum cases, just next to the shell or whatever. But in here I've got felts, I've got a hi-hat clutch that doesn't work very well, but it's better than nothing. And extra cymbal washers and the wing nuts for the top of the cymbal stands. The types of things that you're likely to lose or break, and if you don't want to like run to Guitar Center every freaking day of tour, it's nice to just have them on hand as a backup. Another thing I like to bring on tour is my own kick mics. The last couple tours with Bloodstrike, I've played 2 bass drums, and a lot of dive bars don't have 2 kick mics. So I bring 2 matching Audix kick mics for my kicks. Just because of OCD, I want them to sound like as similar as possible. And you definitely, when you're a metal drummer, your kick sound coming through is sort of important. I use the D6, so I just bought 2 identical D6s. Last time I went on tour, actually, I only brought 1 bass drum, less to carry, right? Makes more sense, actually. But I still brought 1 mic with me in my bag because you never know what they're going to have. I've had some sound guys who, you know, probably not their fault, the venue's just cheap, but they try to mic the kick with like a vocal mic. And that's not going to sound good. So I just reach into my case, here, look dude, I have a D6, plug it in, and I'm going to sound better than every other drummer on the show. Sorry dudes, I'm not letting you borrow my mic, but at least I'm going to get the sound that I know I like, and that's going to cut through. It's going to be the correct mic for the situation, and I'm taking my sound into my own hands. Another thing I typically bring is gaff tape because it actually is pretty decent tape, and you can fix a lot of things temporarily with this stuff. It's also good if you need to use it for its intended purpose of like electrical cords getting taped down or whatever. But it's just generally a really super handy thing. I don't know how many times someone's been like, oh, I need some tape. Okay, here you go. Oh, this thing broke. Here, tape it. You know, whatever it is, it's like this will come in handy for both stage uses and just rando stuff. Another thing not related to music that I really love to bring on tour is a sleeping bag and like a camping pad, like a thermarest or something that you can roll up. Because You never know where you're going to sleep. Sometimes it's a hotel, sometimes you sleep on someone's couch. You never really know where it's going to be. So it's always nice to just have the consistency night after night of the same environment. I've talked to other dudes who do the same thing. It doesn't matter if you're going to get a bed or not. You just sleep in your sleeping bag, and it's like the same everywhere, and you can sort of latch onto that consistency. Whether you're on a floor or a couch or a bed or the back of a van, or you outside in the parking lot because you're just tired and you're stuck, right? Basically, you can go from a camping environment to, you know, the Ritz-Carlton, and you're just going to have the same exact sleeping quality. You're going to be on your pad, in your backpack, in your sleeping bag. You bring your own pillow too. And it's like you've got a cocoon of safety, essentially. It's really good for your like mental health. I don't care where we sleep, I'm set. One more thing I think it's critical to have on tour is water. Okay, I don't actually take this pink water bottle, but like a durable, refillable water bottle is indispensable. I can't tell you how many times on tour I've not been able to get the bartender to pay attention to me. The venue doesn't have bottled water for the artists. You're gonna go on stage, you're dying, water bottle. You're stuck in a van, it's the desert, you break down, you're in the middle of nowhere, water bottle. Okay. Also, just generally keeping hydrated as a drummer is important. Despite whatever water and beer or whatever you drink at the venue, you need hydration throughout the day. I went on a tour once where I was actually cramping up a lot in my forearms and my shins, and I realized later that I didn't have a water bottle on that tour, and I was probably just dehydrated. It's not that I hadn't practiced enough or whatever before the tour, it's that I wasn't getting adequate hydration because you're playing every single night. You know, you're sweating under hot stage lights. It's a lot of physical exertion. You're going to need water. Okay, that's about it for specific things that I would bring. Basically, you're going to need the same stuff you would to go on any like trip. Clothes, toothbrush, you know, that kind of stuff. General life stuff. You're going to want headphones. You're going to want like some books to read or some magazines or something to keep your mind occupied, because like I said in my last video about this stuff, there's a lot of sitting and waiting around. I download movies onto my phone. I typically bring a couple books, and I load up some podcasts, because you know, when you're listening to live music every night, you think, oh yeah, that's music is my life, this is cool, and then you get in the van and you're like, dude, I just want something that is not like music in my face for a couple hours. And, you know, listening to someone talk about history or science or politics or whatever you're into is sometimes a nice break. And you obviously you could talk to your bandmates, but like, dude, you're stuck with them forever. Sometimes it's nice to just tune them out for a while. No offense to bandmates everywhere. All right, so if you have any questions about touring, you can always ask me and I'll try to get back to you in the comments section or whatever. But that's it. Some of it's obvious, some of it's a little less obvious, but that's the kind of stuff that I make sure that I always bring on tour to make sure that I'm 100% ready for situations that could arise and I can get through my tour as successfully as is humanly possible. So thanks for watching. There'll be another Forgotten Rudiments coming up on Monday, so if you're into that, there's still more. Cool. See you guys later.